Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. Live from the Political Vigilante World Headquarters, somewhere beneath Gotham City, because you're helping make Gotham great again. So, yesterday, I was on CrossTalk with Peter Lavelle, the RT show. I've been on it once before. And I was on with a Democrat, pro-Democrat, and a conservative, and we talked about impeachment. I was like the lone independent progressive, right? And this neoliberal guy loses it. Can't handle hearing all this neoliberal hysteria, right? And I got to show you what happened. So here it is on CrossTalk. Peter Lavelle, I think, runs a fine show. Peter's a conservative. Very nice guy. Susie Dawson introduced me to him when I was in Moscow. He was aware of me from being on the Jimmy Dore show and this show. And he really was like, hey, let's get anti-war people from the right, the left, whatever, together. And you know, so here's the beginning of the show. And then I'm just going to do little clips of how it goes off the rails.
Cross-talking impeachment. I'm joined by my guest, Graham Elwood in Los Angeles. He's a regular on the Jimmy Dore show, as well as host of the Political Vigilante on YouTube. In Palm Beach, we have Karen Turk. She is a TV and radio host. And in Chattanooga, we cross to Brian Joyce. He is the host of the Brian Joyce show. All right, crosstalk rules in effect. That means you can jump in anytime you want, and I always appreciate it. Karen, let me go to you first in Palm Beach. I'm going to date myself with my first question to everyone here. I remember very clearly the Watergate hearings. I played hooky from school, pretended I was sick, and I would watch it on a little tiny black and white TV, watching the hearings. Peter Rodino, I remember him very carefully, and it was world historic. And then we all remember Bill Clinton and certain things like blue dresses and stuff like that. And the reason why I bring up those two examples, because there were facts that everyone agreed to, facts that were dealt with obstruction and other crimes, high crimes and misdemeanors, by the way. So I was watching Jerry Nadler, and unfortunately, a week before that, Adam Schiff. And I think I'm kind of a normal, pretty smart guy. You know, I like politics, always have. I don't understand what's going on here. What are these hearings about? Why are lawyers interviewing lawyers? Where are fact witnesses? Okay, I'm not taking a partisan side here. I'm looking at the process here. I don't understand the process. Karen, go ahead in Palm Beach.
I think most of America doesn't understand the process. And just like you, I'm somebody who absorbs politics all day, every day. And I'm starting to tune this out because it's become simply rhetoric. And if you look at the Watergate scandal, you're talking about 3 articles of impeachment that, yes, we're agreed on. If you look at Bill Clinton, it's 4 articles of impeachment, again, agreed on. You look at this, it's 2 articles of impeachment that they basically just pulled out of this Ukraine scandal. What happened to the Mueller report? I thought this was all going to be based on the Mueller report, and because it didn't fit their narrative anymore, they've now just grasped at something new to make their case. They will stop at nothing. These Democrats will stop at nothing to impeach this president, and they'll stop at nothing to just do anything that they can to affect this 2020 election. This is treason, quite frankly. They are looking to affect the election. This is not about actually anything that the president did. It's simply about the fact that they don't even have any viable candidates lined up for 2020, and they have nothing else. It's a big nothing burger.
Okay, Brian, you jump in there. I mean, I'm trying to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I really am, okay? And I'm not taking a side here. But I do remember these past impeachments, and I remember that they were very judicious. They were actually very tedious when it came to the law, and it was, most importantly, bipartisan. This partisanship here worries me the most here, okay? Because if I can't, as a political junkie, understand really what is the kernel of all of this, then I think the American people, obviously, that don't watch politics every heartbeat of the day like I do, and like the rest of us do on this panel. I mean, what is compelling about this process that I'm missing? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, first of all, I think you're mischaracterizing the Bill Clinton impeachment. I was around for that impeachment too, and that was not exactly a bipartisan exercise.
That's
it was
fair.
More or less.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. It was more or less a straight party line vote. Now,
to your question of where are the facts and where are the factual witnesses, I don't know, Peter, if you were tuned in the past couple of weeks, but we've had plenty of factual witnesses. We've had people testifying under oath who are on the phone line with Donald Trump and leaders of Ukraine testifying.
What was the crime? What was the crime?
This man committed a crime.
They were asked.
We all know what the crime
But they were asked, and none of them said they knew. On national television. On national television, they were asked what crime that would reach the level of impeachment. No one raised their hand.
Seeking foreign election interference. That's what they all testified.
Okay, Graham, why don't you jump in on that? Okay, I mean, the United States interferes in elections all around the world, all the time, and now it's this one.
But Peter,
no, let me go to. Let's get equal time. Let's let everybody jump in. Let's let everyone jump in, and then we can have it spread it out. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, this is a fantastic reality TV show that's put on by the ruling class to have these two ridiculous corporate war parties battle amongst this nonsense. As was just brought up, look, it was very partisan for Clinton, but even Clinton actually, as was stated, had, 4 articles of impeachment. He lied to the grand jury. And all of these Democrats who back in during the Clinton era were like, oh, this is a witch hunt, they're now doing the same thing here. Well, here's what's going on with the Democrats. I don't agree. There is a very strong candidate. It's called Bernie Sanders. That is the most popular candidate we've ever had. But the Democratic Party, if they give over to him, they lose. They lose all their corporate money. They lose all their corporate. So they can't have Bernie Sanders in poll after poll is beating Trump head to head. He's beating Trump head to head in Texas. If a Democrat wins Texas, it's over. But they can't do that because the Democratic Party would rather lose to Republicans.
Okay, that you just answered my question. So you're saying the Democrats would rather lose to Donald Trump than have Bernie Sanders elected. You're saying that?
Absolutely, because if Bernie Sanders, he takes no corporate money.
I think there's something to it.
There's no corporate money. He doesn't take any corporate.
Okay, let me go back to.
Okay, so there, I tried it, and Peter said, you know, it's called crosstalk, but he doesn't want people yelling and talking over each other. And I started to keep going, and he's trying, so I stopped. Right? I stopped.
Let me go to Karen, and let's keep it moving. Let's go back to Palm Beach here. Okay, Brian disagrees with this, and that's good because about politics. Go ahead, Brian. I'm actually reaching out to you, Brian. Go ahead.
Once again, Peter, with all due respect, I don't think you're paying attention. But first, we need to start by going back to whether or not a crime was committed. If everybody on this panel can't agree that seeking foreign election assistance on the part of a United States candidate is not a federal crime in the United States.
Are you talking about 2006? Are you talking about 2016 or 2020?
And I'm talking about 2016.
So you have someone from representing the DNC going and talking to the Ukrainians. Why isn't anybody Chalupa? No one's talking about that. What person in the Trump campaign went to Ukraine looking for? Okay, well, I mean, you know,
Peter's bringing up all these valid points. And you could say Peter's interrupts, but it's his show. And so he's bringing up these valid points. And he said, if we can't agree what the crimes are, he kind of answered his own question. If we all can't agree that what crimes happened, then maybe, this would happen. Then it's not irrefutable. You know, like, I thought the Clinton, I thought that was a little bit of a witch hunt, but typical Bill Clinton, he gave them ammunition. When he was first asked, did you sleep with her? All he had to say was, I did, I shouldn't have, I cheated on my wife, I betrayed my family, I betrayed the country, I'm sorry, let's move forward. The country's doing great, the economy was great, there's a budget surplus, you know, let's keep this going, everybody vote for Al Gore. He could have done that. He could have just said, I'm sorry, but he lied. And then he lied to the grand jury, and that made it worse. You got caught. You should have said I shouldn't have done it. That was it. Don't blame Monica Lewinsky. I'm sorry. It wasn't her fault. I abused my power as the president. It's my fault. I'm sorry. And then he could have gone on his press tour and could have even garnered sympathy. But he lied. Bill Clinton lied. That was the problem. And then he gave the Republicans ammunition to jump after him because they didn't like Bill Clinton. The Republicans didn't like Bill Clinton because he was as corrupt as they are and could trick people into thinking that he was a liberal, and it drove the Republicans nuts, right? Trump is very corrupt, and he's tricked people into thinking, his diehard followers, that he's some sort of American hero and he's fighting the good fight, and it drives these neoliberals nuts, right? So Peter's trying to say, like, you got to elaborate more. He just kept saying the same thing. And then he just starts talking and talking, and just watch.
The problem is that this is what's happened here.
The problem is you're shouting over me, and
we have this parallel conversation. That's what it's turned into. Keep going,
That's
Brian.
because you're not listening. You asked me a question.
No, you're not adding to it, okay? You're just saying a crime.
What is the crime? What is the crime? To answer your question.
And go ahead and try.
Talking over me.
Go ahead.
You're wondering where the partisan rancor is coming from. You asked me a polite question. I am trying to politely answer you, and you're yelling over me.
Everyone's listening.
Is that possible?
Everyone's listening.
No. I've noticed you let the other two guests speak uninterrupted. I can't talk for 5 seconds before you're shouting over me.
Okay, you're wasting time. You want to answer or not?
Well, that's because you haven't given me time to answer a question.
Well,
you just give me 30 seconds.
He's been wasting. Shut up. This is where he starts being a 5-year-old. I can see you make that once. You're not giving me the time. Okay, here's your time. So here's my point. That's what you do. But he keeps. And I was listening on NPR yesterday when I was driving to a show. All the people in the representatives, and they have a Republican and a Democrat. And I do not like the Republican Party at all. And I don't like the Democrats either. But I've never been a huge fan of the Republican Party. I'll just say that admittedly. Every Republican gave facts as to why this was a ridiculous impeachment. And I was like, that's a good point. And every Democrat just told, I'm an immigrant, and this isn't right, and I was believed to trust in the rule of law, and they couldn't give facts. Give me facts. Show me evidence. And that's what people that don't have a real case do. And on the Jimmy Dore show, and I talk about it here in a sec, there was the Tenley, the law professor, who said, I don't like Trump. But we're abandoning the Constitution. And if we abandon the Constitution for this, guess what? If you're just a Democratic partisan and you're just thinking long-term strategy, think this. 20 years from now, 10 years, 5, whatever. The next time a Democrat's in the White House, Republicans will try this tactic. This is the problem with the two-party system. But this is the problem when they have no argument. It's like the Republicans that lost their mind when a black man with a Muslim name became president. And all they could say was, he's a long-form birth certificate. He's a terrorist. He's from Nigeria or Kenya. Or like they had no, that's all he's got. I don't like Trump. And I've said this before, the way to beat him is the ballot box. That's what I was saying on the show. The one mistake I wish I would have included Tulsi Gabbard as well. I wish I would have said Bernie and Tulsi could beat Trump.
You just chewed up your time.
Can I get 30 seconds uninterrupted like the two other guests? Can I get that?
Go ahead.
Can I get that? Okay. First of all, if we can't all agree that it is a crime to seek foreign election assistance in the United States of America, we have no conversation. That's number one. Number two, this whole business of it being some kind of a not quite bipartisan. This investigation has been conducted almost to a T to the law, and almost to a T the exact same way the investigations into Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton were conducted. There are 3 parts to impeachment.
Okay,
that was 30 seconds.
Okay, then you must. I know why this. I know why this happened. I know why this happens. You know why it happened? I can explain to you why this happens. Because you watch CNN and you watch MSNBC. That's all you watch. You just watch that, and that is the narrative that you're giving all the time. It's just the same narrative.
There are 3 parts to an impeachment process. Number 1 is the investigation, which is conducted behind closed doors. Number 2, there is a House hearing. And number 3, there is a Senate trial.
And
we haven't even gotten to the trial yet.
And the GOP wasn't involved in any of it. The GOP wasn't involved in any of it, Brian.
Allowed this to get to the process yet, where it's supposed to be due process of law.
Okay, so just everybody needs to shut up and listen.
They don't get to face their accusers until it moves to trial. We haven't gotten to trial yet. Why is this so complicated for Republicans? You're either lying or you don't know the law yourself.
Okay, well, you give us all very limited options there. Okay, we're going to go to a short break, and after that short break, we'll continue our discussion on impeachment. Stay with us.
He just took a minute and a half.
Secret for you. be
Gets worse.
open-minded a little bit, okay?
This is where
Graham, go ahead and jump in.
Here's the thing, Peter.
Graham,
We're
jump
dealing
in.
with the
Listening,
president.
Stop.
We're dealing with the
Brian,
president
you're
of the United
you're
States.
filibustering.
We're dealing
Don't
with the president
filibuster
of the
on my
United States who
program.
lies
I'm
every
going to
day.
go
We're
now
dealing with a
to
president of the
Graham.
United States who lies every day and says
Okay,
liberals give
all
you
right,
cancer.
okay.
I'm sorry
Those
if
are your
I'm not
talking.
inclined to
No,
believe this,
but
man.
your talking points
I'm
don't move the
sorry.
conversation. Your
I'm
talking
not
points
quite
don't move the
stupid enough
conversation.
to fall for this every
Okay,
time. I
will
didn't
you?
fall off
Would you
the back
have
of
the?
a watermelon.
Would you have
This
the
is a great
common?
distraction.
Would you have the
This is-
common
And I don't
courtesy
believe
to
people who
listen
lie
to another
continuously.
guest? You're not the only
Yes.
guest on the program. Graham, go ahead, jump in. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a prime example. The Democrats, rather than getting behind inspirational candidates with policies and platform that resonate with the majority of the American people, they do this insane arguing. Like,
We have
tell me
more than a
why
dozen of them.
what that just arguing I just had to listen to
Yes.
is why is any worse than the Trump supporter who says Trump never lies. This is the problem I have. This is why I'm an
You just said-
anti-war
you just said Bernie
progressive
Sanders is the only qualified
who's not
Democrat.
inspired.
Tell me who's one-sided. You're a fraud.
Yeah.
Tell me who's one-sided. You
I'm a
just said
fraud.
Bernie
Why? Because
Sanders
I'm
is the
against
only
war? Because I
qualified
want
candidate?
Medicare for all?
Brian,
That's
why
why
are
I'm
you
a
so
fraud?
angry?
Yeah,
Is
to be
one-sided right now?
Why does that bother you?
That is such an important question. Why are you so
Because
angry?
you
Go ahead,
can't
Karen.
apply facts, Brian.
Look
That's
angry.
why
I
you're
have a
so
smile on
angry.
my face.
That's why.
Sweetheart, you
He-
can't put
Because you
emotion
would
into
rent
it.
Brian
I-
is the
I-
Calm down.
You want to
You're the
know
example.
did you just
Calm
call me
down.
This is-
sweetheart? Or
He calls her sweetheart. Look, sweetheart. I bet you we could find tweets from this guy saying Trump's. He starts losing his argument. He's losing it to me, and now he's losing it to a woman, so he calls her sweetheart. Boy, listen to this.
Really? No, I ain't
Yeah, I
your
did.
sweetheart.
So calm down. Calm down.
Really, honestly,
Wow.
is just such a direct
So
illustration
woke.
of everything that's wrong right now.
So woke,
When
yeah.
they can't get their point across, the Democrats,
I
the
already
left,
did.
they
You
can't
won't
get their
listen
point
to it.
across.
He's like a 5-year-old. He said, yeah, I did call you sweetheart. Calm down. So he's doing these sexist, so she's the hysterical woman? She's the most level-headed one here. Even though there's stuff she says I don't agree with.
The only thing that they
I
can
already
do is
did. You won't
scream and
listen to
yell. You didn't get your point across at all. I can't wait to
Okay,
watch
well,
this
let
show
me
on the
ask you a
replay. I can't
question.
wait to
Is
post
it
this
a
on my
law,
social media
or is
This
it
because you
just
did not get your
shows-
point
Is it
across.
illegal or not illegal to seek foreign election interference in the United States? Answer the question. Legal or illegal? Answer yes or no.
Well, the Democrats,
Why are we
the
not
Democrats did.
discussing the
can't
DNC?
answer.
Do you want to
The
talk
DNC
about
did
the
it.
Mueller report? Do you
The
want to talk about the
DNC
DNC, or you want to
You can't
ignore
answer.
those
You're avoiding the
facts?
question. Here,
You want
I'll
to
answer
ignore
it
those
for you.
facts.
It's illegal.
No, I'm
What
not
I
avoiding
think-
the question.
What
I'm
I
pointing
think
the
is,
question back
hang
at you
on,
for the
we're
things that
almost
you're
out of
avoiding.
We're almost out of time. We're almost
Hey,
out of
Peter.
time.
I know,
Hang on,
but
everyone.
that's the
Hang
law,
on.
Peter.
And that's why
Hang
your
on.
president is
I'm
about to
gonna-
be impeached.
What is happening here is that each side projects what
Podesta
they're doing on the
emails.
other side. That's what happens all the time, and that's why we're not having a conversation. Unfortunately,
Right.
this program is emblematic of American politics today. I think that's we're a really good test case here for what's wrong. We all need to start talking to each other again. That's what we need to start doing. Karen, I'm going to give you the last word, 55 seconds.
So I'll put the link to watch the whole 25-minute interview. One of the things I bring up is I go, why aren't we talking about people being poor? Why aren't we talking about climate change? Why aren't we talking about Trump and the Clintons having ties to the Epsteins? Why aren't we talking about any of these things? And this current woman, she's a conservative. She's a Trump supporter. She's like, this is a great country, and I love the two-party system, which I could have easily weighed in on that and said, no, that's the two-party system, and this arguing is part of the problem. But he goes, sweetheart, calm down. That's who this guy is. And one of the things I've said, and many of us have said, if you try to pass impeachment, it's going to go to the Senate, and the Republican Senate's going to vote it down. You know who else has said that? Who else has said that about another example of trying to impeach Kavanaugh?
Welcome back to Politicking. I'm Larry King. Renewed controversy over Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and fallout from the Democratic debates. Lots to talk about with our political panel. Joining me from...
This was in October, right after the debates, so like a month or so ago. And this is Larry King trying to stay awake.
Washington is Alex Vogel. He previously served as chief counsel to Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist and former General Counsel for the Republican Senatorial Committee. And in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Brian Joyce, host of The Brian Joyce Show on talk radio airing on WGOW-FM. Alex, what do you make of the New York Times report of more sexual charges against Justice Kavanaugh?
Well, I think there's a couple of issues. One, I think it's unfortunate how the Times itself has handled this, having to walk back an important part of that story. Given the significance of the people involved and the way his confirmation played out, I would have expected from any paper of record a pretty high threshold to go to print. Again, I think it's unfortunate the way they handled it. As to the underlying political issue and the fallout from that, I mean, look, the reality is Justice Kavanaugh was confirmed. He has a lifetime appointment. He is not going to be impeached, nor is there any reason, in my opinion, to impeach him, based on what I understand from the allegations from the Times story. The larger issue is, for those candidates who are running for president who have decided to make this an issue and talk about it, really right after that Times story with no time for reflection or to understand the facts, only former Vice President Biden, in my opinion, was smart enough to hold back and say that he was troubled as opposed to coming out and saying, oh, he should be impeached. I think that's really irresponsible and calls into question.
Joe Biden said Kavanaugh shouldn't be impeached. He's troubled, but he shouldn't be impeached. Joe Biden said that about Kavanaugh.
And really threatens how people feel about an important branch of government, and I don't think it's justified.
Brian, what if the stories are true?
Larry, I think this is all much ado about nothing. I think it's silliness. Look, if the Democrats wanted to investigate Brett Kavanaugh, they had their chance. The FBI had their chance to investigate Brett Kavanaugh. If they wanted these allegations to come out, if they wanted them to be investigated at the time, they should have done it when these allegations were on the table, when the investigation was on the table. At this point in the game, it's water under the bridge. You know, our guest is correct. This is a man who's been confirmed to the Supreme Court. He will be on the Supreme Court for the rest of his life. There is nothing at this point that Democrats can do to change that. Even if they impeach him, what difference does it make? The Senate's not going to follow suit. So look, if Democrats don't like this, if they don't like the rules to the game, if they wish they could have this Supreme Court seat back, they have an option. In 2020, get behind your candidate the way that Republicans did in 2016. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but Republicans are just so much better at playing this game of politics, especially when it comes to the politics of the Supreme Court. If Democrats do not like the shape of the Supreme Court right now, they have an option, and the option is to vote. Get behind your candidates and vote. If you can take back the White House and take back the Senate, then you have the Supreme Court. Until then, Larry, it's water under the bridge.
Dude, I could not agree with you more. Then why are you going on and on about this ridiculous impeachment? Look, why are you going on and on? Trump won. Trump won. I didn't like it, but Trump won. He's the president. You have to acknowledge that. You don't like him? Beat him. Why is the Democratic Party actively trying to repress Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard? I've said this before. The Bernie-Tulsi ticket is unbeatable. When I hear Tulsi and Bernie supporters fighting online, it's dumb. Don't do that. Bernie and Tulsi are friends. I think they're working together. They're unbeatable. The Democratic Party knows it. That's why Hillary Clinton is calling Tulsi a Russian asset and then goes on Howard Stern and says, oh, Bernie took a month before he endorsed me. And there's a video of her in 2016 going, of course Bernie's going to stay until the end. I stayed until the end in 2008. She stayed till the end in 2008. She didn't give her endorsement of Obama until it was decided she was not going to be the candidate. But now she's bellyaching about it. There's a letter she wrote to Bernie Sanders saying, thank you for your endorsement. I appreciate it. Bernie put it online. This guy's right. Why is he so wrong on the crosstalk thing with the impeachment? Let's take that stance, dude. That's the right one. I don't get why he acted that way. It doesn't make sense to me. This dude, this guy I agree with. The other dude I thought lost his marbles, man. I don't get it. That's an electric. So thanks for watching the show. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm also putting all my videos, they're ad-free on Rokfin.com/Graham Elwood. I haven't been deplatformed by YouTube, so, you know, but my backup is I'm on Rokfin. It's a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. Please support what I'm doing too if you can. Patreon.com. I don't get any big donor money. I'm completely supported by you, the viewers. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Make sure you've subscribed to this, share these videos, and then join Ron Placone and I on the road. We got a bunch of 2020 tour dates. Tucson, San Francisco, you know, Tempe, Portland, Seattle, Orlando, Miami. We're adding more dates all the time. So go to GrahamElwood.com for all my tour dates. Thank you so much for watching. You're making Gotham great again. And boom, shave your knuckles for justice.